to help revitalize the village. I returned home to start a business in aquaculture. Just as things were improving, the villagers started getting jealous. Bacchus. We've done the math. The annual production is 150 pounds. 5 million yuan. You only give us 8 yuan per month, which adds up to 5 million a year. That means you're keeping 1 million to yourself. How can you live with that? You said we'd work together, but now you're the boss, and we're all working for you. Even the older folks. How can your conscience be clear? All you do is feed the shrimp and find buyers, while we do the packaging and processing. Why should you take the lion's share? I was furious but laughed. Even the village head, who once begged me for help, said nothing. It turns out they all thought I was taking advantage of them. If it's so easy. The neighboring village is begging for my help. I grew up eating from many households, and after graduating, I returned to my hometown without hesitation. All village is nestled between two mountains, making it cool and shady. Most of the crops grown here are cilantro, chrysanthemum green, and spinach, and life was hard. The young and able-bodied had left for work elsewhere, leaving behind mostly the elderly. When I returned, I noticed the abundance of clean water between the mountains near my home, with good sunlight practiced for aquaculture. Since my university studies were related to this field, I decided to give it a shot. I transformed my family's land into a shrimp farm. No one believed in me, but when I made my first profit, the village head came to me in the middle of the night, asking me to help the village. Remembering how kind they had been to me as a child, I readily agreed. Over the year, I ran around doing live street, building factories, borrowing money, and I bore the losses on my own. I paid them regular wages and helped them make money, and the village's quality of life improved significantly. Young people who had left for work began returning, and the village of Jiao was visibly improving. But one day, after a long day of work, I came home to find many villagers waiting in my yard. I thought it was something from the village committee, so I wiped my sweat and greeted them with a smile. What's going on? Uncle, waiting for me so late must be good noon. No one responded. Even as slow as I am, I could sense the strange atmosphere. When I looked up, they were all staring at me with a strange expression. And I had a bad feeling. Did something happen at the factory? As they saw my confusion, their gazes turned angrier. Stop pretending. Aren't you the least bit guilty? Guilty of what? Oh, videos, what's going on? Uncle Kendo, one of the crowd, spoke with a somewhat polite tone. Bacchus, we've watched you grow up. How did you become dishonest after going to university? How could you cheat us out of money? I was even more confused. Cheat what money? If it weren't for Kane telling us, we'd still be in the dark. Village head's nephew? Lately, the village head had asked me to guide his nephew, to help him make some money. I'd been showing him the business. What did this have to do with Kane? I looked toward the village head, but he lowered his head, saying nothing. When he noticed me looking, he nervously raised his head. It's Kane. He said you've been pocketing money from everyone. We didn't believe him. Then he showed us the prices in your live streets, which are higher than what we usually sell for. He said all you do is feed the shrimp, find buyers, and take it easy, while the dirty and hard work is left to the older folks in the village. The more I listened, the more ridiculous it seemed. They're all elderly. I suppose to have them out in the sun every day. Besides, the knowledge I have about farming is too complex to explain to them. All I asked them to do was pack and dry the shrimp. And now this? The villagers became increasingly angry. Yeah, you said we'd work together, but now you're the boss, and we're working for you. Even used our land to build your farm. How can you live with yourself? Did all that education turn you into a scumbag? All you do is feed the shrimp and find buyer, while we do the packaging and processing. Why should you take the bigger share? I did the math. With an annual production of 150 pounds, you earn 5 million yuan. You only pay us 8 a month, which adds up to 5 million a year. You're pocketing the other million. Is that how you do business? I grew angrier as I listened. Was nonsense. Where is Cain? He dares to badmouth me behind my back but won't show his face. Cain is the son of the village head's late brother. Since the village head has no children, he raised Cain himself. In his younger years, Cain was always causing trouble, and even after attending a technical school, he returned to the village and continued to loaf around. The village head had asked me to mentor him, so I took him along to the farm, introduced him to clients. And now he's talking behind my back. Just then, Cain squeezed out from the crowd. There he was, hiding in the back, eavesdropping. Who said I wouldn't come? I'm right here. He looked at me but quickly averted his eyes, clearly feeling guilty. Kinsman, Bacchus is nothing but a ruthless capitalist. He claimed he'd led everyone to prosperity. But what happened? You're all working for him while he sits comfortably as the boss, earning millions a year. You do the dirty and hard work, and all he does is feed the shrimp and do some live streaming, making money while lying down. Why should that be? I was angry, but out of respect for the elders present, I tried to explain calmly. Folks, I never meant to have you work for me while I took it easy. I have plenty to do every day. Before stocking the shrimp, I have to prepare the water, and if anything goes wrong with the pond, I have to fix it myself. All the losses are on me. I also handle oxygenation, water changes, fertilizing, and regular disinfection. You don't understand the technical aspect, so there's no point in sending you to the farm. When it comes to live streaming, you understand even less. I meet clients, treat them to meals and drink. And what about the cost of shrimp feed, oxygen machines, aerator, and water wheels? Don't those count for anything? Hearing this, some of the villagers hesitated, murmuring among themselves. Cain cowed and sit still. Don't listen to his nonsense. I studied this stuff in school. It's not that complicated. You just release the shrimp, feed them a bit, and wait for harvest. As for live streaming, it's even simpler. Just turn on a camera, show the product, introduce them, and the money rolls in. The new media age, making money isn't that hard. He's just using you to make himself rich while playing the boss. The money that should go to you is going straight into his pocket. It's not that you can't live without him, that he can't live without you. Looking at this arrogant fool, I shook my head and turned to the village head. Village head, what do you think? Remember when you came to me in the middle of the night, begging me to help your village get rich? You know how far we've come. When I first started out, none of you knew how to do that. I had to hire people to drain and dig the pond, and I installed the fences myself. When things went wrong, like when the water turned bad and the shrimp died, I didn't ask you to cover the losses. I borrowed money and kept paying your wages out of my own pocket. When we cowed and sell the shrimp, you were with me when I met clients, bought drinks, and gave gifts. You know all of this. The village's growth didn't happen by chance. It was because of me, because I worked hard. I was getting more and more agitated, and the village had quickly stood up to calm me. Don't get so worked up. Bacchus, I know it wasn't easy for you in the beginning. I've seen it all. And his tone shifted. But look at you now. You've made it big. Cain isn't wrong. Hades, I've seen you work. It's not that hard. And it's not right for you to take so much money. He hesitated, and the more I listened, the colder I felt inside. What are you trying to say? He seemed to take this as a sign I was softening and spoke firmly. Uncle doesn't want much from you. Just scrape a little off the top for everyone. Right now, the monthly wage is 8 yuan, right? Bump it up to 15, and that's enough. I never expected him to be so greedy. Your village is cool and shady. And back when the villagers were just growing cilantro and spinach, they made at most 3 yuan a month. When I first started out and things were tough, I paid them 5, and when things got better, I raised it to 8. Now they're asking for 15. Do they expect me to run around and make no money for myself? I spoke calmly. That's impossible. At this, the villagers exploded, pointing fingers at me and shouting curses. You heartless kid. Every household in this village fed you when you were young, and this is how you repay us? So we're only worth a month while you make tens of thousands, and you won't even give us a raise. Do you have any conscience? You said you'd make us rich. But you're just making us work for you. How can you live with yourself? Making dirty money like this? Cain kept fanning the flame. Exactly. If I hadn't come back, no one would've figured it out. We both went to school. But it seems like all that studying went to waste for you. Making these uncles and grandpas work for you while you sit back and rake in the cash dough, you have no shame. If I were leading the village to prosperity, it'd work hard without complaint. It's what you should be doing anyway. And compared to the dirty money you're making, the hardships you claim are nothing. Besides, these people have done so much for you. I shot back. You think it's easy? He had the nerve to respond. If I were in your shoes, I'd be able to do it too. How about this? Since you don't want to raise wages, just give back the money you've earned over the years. It's at least $1 million and divide it among the villagers. You can hand the factory over to me, and you'll lead everyone to prosperity without taking a penny more than I should. I laughed coldly. He really thought he could learn everything by following me around for a few days. So the wage increase was just to protect Sui were after the factory all along. Since his intentions were malicious, I didn't hold back anymore. I grabbed a broom from the wall and lunged at him. Get up, all of you. Then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, "You never used to watch these kinds of emotional videos." In the chaos, someone pushed me, and I crashed into a stone table, blood pouring from my head. I clutched my head, breathing heavily, as warm blood ran down my face, blurring my vision. The unexpected turn of events scared the villagers, and they quickly started to leave. Still unwilling to give up, shouted as he walked away, "You're doing well now. But just wait. If villagers all go on strike, let's see if your factory can keep running. Remember, it's not that you're leading them to prosperity, it's that you can't manage without them." So that's what he was after. Once they were all gone, I slowly got up and stumbled toward the hospital. Blood continued to flow down my face, warm and sticky, clouding my sight. I wiped my face, the intense pain nearly splitting my consciousness apart. "What happened to you?" I heard the panicked voice of a young nurse, who quickly ran over to help me. They didn't use anesthesia while stitching me up, and every pass of the needle through my skin felt like it was burning. I gritted my teeth hard, the sharp pain keeping me awake, my thoughts unusually clear. They had taught me a lesson. When I was young, my parents died early, and I mostly survived on the charity of the villagers. I seen shrimp on the table, freshly boiled, steaming hot. I would tear off the head and take a big slurp, dipping the meat in a vinegar-based sauce. Everyone who tasted it said it was delicious. I didn't dare ask for it, as even getting a bite to eat was already a blessing for me. Eating a shrimp became an obsession. When I grew up, I finally pursued the aquaculture studies I had always dreamed of. I had only one thought: to repay the people who gave me food. Even if the village chief hadn't come to me, I would have helped everyone as much as I could. I understand gratitude, but they have become ungrateful wolves. I should have known better. Poor old I like seeing those who were once poorer than them doing better later on. That's human nature. They are never satisfied. I've long repaid any debt of kindness over the years, and my conscience is clear. The next day, as I looked at the empty factory, it didn't surprise me. They believed Cain's words, thinking that I couldn't manage without them. They thought Cain was fighting for their wages but didn't realize he was after my factory. And I don't believe the village chief is involved. I sighed deeply, filled with frustration and anger. With a heavy heart, I drove to the farm. The live streaming could wait. The shrimp farming still had to continue. I could always hire a few temp workers to help with the packing. Life goes on. But I still underestimated just how shameless these people could be. Perhaps they grew impatient when they didn't see any reaction from me after a few days. That morning, when I arrived at the factory, the sore me shocked me. The ground was littered with broken glass and foam boards. The walls splashed with garish red paint, glaring under the sunlight as if mocking my defeat. I silently cleaned up the mess, lost in deep thought. The shattered glass on the ground seemed to symbolize the end of my relationship with this village. Human desire is a bottomless pit. Even if I raise their wages this time, they feel they have leverage over me, and continue to push for more. You hesitate to cut ties, you'll end up in a bigger mess. Let's cut it off completely. With that thought, I sped up my cleaning. In the afternoon, I planned to sell the shrimp and go to the village committee to clarify things. But when I arrived at the farm, I was stunned. All the shrimp in the pond were dead. The ones I pulled out were lifeless, floating on the surface. I had no idea what they had poisoned the water with, but the entire pond of shrimp was ruined. I stood there on the shore, unable to hold back my rage any longer, and called the police. The surveillance footage was clear the same person who vandalized the factory had poisoned the shrimp. It was Kendall's son. I don't believe this happened without Kane's instigation. Yeah, Kendall's son claimed he was simply disgusted by my action being dirty money, so he destroyed my property. He even tried to get the police to charge me with a crime. Kendall angrily slapped me, venting his fury. It's all your fault. My son only did this because of your heartlessness. No matter how many times the police explained that my actions were lawful, they wouldn't listen. I clenched my fists. No longer soft-hearted. When people think they can step all over you, they'll see you as weak. And there's no need to be soft anymore. Everyone must pay for their action. The verdict came quickly: 3 years for poisoning, property destruction, and malicious troublemaking. From that point on, my relationship with the village completely broke down, and they cursed me as an ingrate. Life after the fallout wasn't easy. No matter where I went, I faced cold stares and whispers. Gradually, I didn't want to go out anymore. I once thought I would stick to my principles. But seeing the people I grew up with now treat me with disdain, I thought about it for a long time and decided to pay them back. But this doesn't mean I think I was wrong. You just want to cut ties completely and have nothing more to do with them. I sold my car and factory, liquidated everything I could, and scraped together 2 million yuan, including my savings. I took the money to the village committee, as promised. 2 million yuan. 50 is 50, 0 per household. From now on, you're on your own. I won't help you anymore. The villagers were overjoyed. Yet they still couldn't resist mocking me. Would help? You treated us like slaves and made it sound so noble. Don't worry. After you leave, we'll do just fine. This is what you owe us. What you should have paid. Don't put on that sad face. Our village has more than just you who knows what they're doing. Kane does too. He said help us without exploiting us like you did. Don't think everyone is as heartless as you. I looked at Kane and the village chief, smirking on the sideline. Let's see how they fare without me. I'm not so kind as to let them use my facilities for free. Before I left, I filled in the ponds. What I didn't expect was that a turning point came quickly. The village chief from the neighboring village knocked on my door. Bang, bang, bang. I was told Oho would be knocking on my door just as I was about to move. Cautiously, I opened the door just a crack to see who it was. He was wearing a wrinkled black shirt and pants, covered in dirt, with a slight hunch. His dark face was etched with wrinkles, but his eyes were sharp. He looked at me, rubbing his hand, his voice low, as if a bit embarrassed. Then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, "You never used to watch these kinds of emotional videos. Can I come in and sit for a bit?" After the way I'd been treated recently, his politeness caught me off guard. He didn't seem like a bad person. "Sure, uncle, come on in." Looking around, I quickly went to make him a cup of tea and handed it to him. He gripped the cup tightly, a little uneasy. "I'm the village chief from Dahi village. I wanted to discuss something with you," I replied. "It's no problem, uncle. Just say." He looked at me seriously. "I've heard about what happened in your village. They're saying you make dirty money and that you're ungrateful. But I don't believe it. Our area isn't that big. And news spreads fast. I've seen the changes in Gia village since you arrived." Finally, after a long silence, he spoke with a bit of embarrassment. "I'd like to ask if you could help our village." I gave a bitter smile. Look at me now. How could I possibly help you?" He seemed to think I would refuse, and hurriedly said, "I won't let you help for nothing. Our village has been farming vegetable, and all the young people have left. Seeing the village in its current state, it makes my heart heavy. Just teach us some aquaculture technique. I won't take it for free. He'll pay you. Consider light hiring you." As he spoke, anxiously pulled out a black plastic bag from his pocket. Ready to hand it to me. I couldn't help but laugh a little, though a wave of bitterness welled up inside me. Even strangers understand gratitude. Yet the people I grew up with don't. I pushed his hand back, thinking for a while before saying, "All right, uncle, I'll help you out. But I don't need the money. Keep it to buy some seedling." He was a bit surprised that I agreed so quickly and tried to bow to me in gratitude. I quickly stopped him, joking, "No need to bow. Just give me a place to stay. Look at me." I looked around my empty house and sighed. "It's a shame. But no worry. I won't let you be at a loss." The next day, I arrived at Dehi village. They had already been waiting at the entrance to welcome me. The village chief was tearfully introducing me to the villagers. "This is Comrade Bacchus, whom I invited to help our village. From now on, whatever Bacchus needs or asks, we must fully cooperate." "Bacchus, I've heard of you before. I bought some of your shrimp to fill it." This young man looked strong and kind. I knew it was a problem with the other village, not you. "Just stay here with us and don't worry. Today is a good day. Come to my place for lunch. I'll cook up some good dishes, and we'll have a few drinks." The warmth of Dehi village exceeded my expectation, dispelling any remaining doubts I had. But I still wanted to be clear with them. I still need to check the site, see where suitable for aquaculture and how large the farming area can be. The initial investment will be significant, and it may take a while to see returns since I trailed all. The village chief immediately stepped up. "Bacchus, don't worry. We'll do whatever you say. No complaint. If we need money, we'll find a way. We won't let you lose out. Having you here is our greatest fortune." The villagers chimed in with support, and I felt completely at ease. The work that followed facing the land, digging drainage ditches, fertilizing, and adding oxygen to the water went smoothly. Everywhere I went, there were villagers following me, asking questions excitedly. Rather than being annoyed, I found their enthusiasm uplifting. Who was always chatting and gossiping. She would take notes as she asked me questions, saying she wanted to share the burden. The most surprising thing was that no matter how busy she was, she always made time to bring me meal. One day, she approached me with a beaming face. "Do you know what's happening in your old village now?" I was curious. "What's going on? And, tell me." "After you left, they tried to build their own ponds to farm shrimp, but they've done a terrible job. Your village chief's nephew didn't know a thing, and all their shrimp died." I went to take a peek. The depth of the ponds was all raw, and they didn't use any aeration or disinfect the water. Even I know more than them after just 2 days of learning. They spent so much time with you, and didn't learn anything. They're really dumb. Seeing Aunt Malvina's proud expression made me laugh. My Aunt Malvina is so impressive. "What's for lunch today?" "I've already prepared its rain pork." I had long expected something like this to happen. In fact, Aunt Malvina didn't even touch on the real issue. The main problem was that most of their land had little sunlight and was too shady. It was perfect for growing cilantro and spinach, but shrimp need plenty of sunlight. I was surprised Kane didn't know that. With his laid-back attitude, I doubt he learned much in vocational school. Even if they dug ponds like I did and started farming shrimp, they would know how to properly manage the pond's depth, the disinfection, or the feed. It's not as simple as they think. What surprised me was that Kane actually managed to produce a batch of shrimp. Word of my success in the neighboring village had spread, and he came strutting over, bragging. "How about that, folks? Didn't I tell you shrimp farming was easy?" I don't know how that ungrateful guy from the next village even dares to stay there. Kane had a smug look on his face. Exactly. He didn't have the guts to stay in our village and ran off to the next one. Shameless. They were arguing loudly, and I found it a bit amusing. Before I could respond, Aunt Malvina was the first to take up her bullhorn. "Bacchus is someone our village invited, and you all have no right to talk nonsense here. A bunch of idiots. You don't even realize you've traded watermelon for sesame seed. No, not even sesame seeds you've traded for garbage, and you think it's treasure. Bacchus taught me in just a few days, And I've already learned more than you all did in ages. You're the real ungrateful ones. With her hands on her hips and her sleeves rolled up, Aunt Malvina stood tall, bullhorn in hand, full of momentum. The other village women, who always gossiped with Aunt Malvina, weren't about to be outdone. Seeing things getting out of hand, the village's chief hurried over, grinning apologetically, then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, "You never used to watch these kinds of emotional videos. We're all neighbors. No need to argue. It's a small matter." He quickly tried to usher them back. Perhaps it was the thought of selling shrimp and becoming his own boss that made the old fox's wrinkles nearly crack with laughter. He didn't forget to turn back and taunt me. "Bacchus, if only you'd been smart enough to ask for a raise earlier. You could ain't been a boss yourself. Now look, you're in debt and starting over. It's a law. Session?" I only replied with 2 words, "Idiot." Someone usually so mild-mannered speak like that. The smile froze on his face. He didn't know whether to laugh or not. A few days later, Aunt Malvina came to me with news that Gia Village had become a viral topic. She pulled out her phone to show me a video, which was a recorded live stream. Kane was mimicking the way I used to stream, showcasing shrimp and trying to sell them. As the viewers gradually increased, no one was placing orders. Growing anxious, Kane began playing the sympathy card, talking about how the village was full of left-behind elderly and how pitiful they were. But the villagers behind him, all new to live streaming, wanted to look their best on camera and had put on their jewelry, which the viewers quickly noticed and called out in the comments. That moment, any other villager walked over and asked, "Hey, why hasn't anyone bought anything?" Bacchus used to sell tens of thousands of orders. "What's wrong with you?" Being called out for his failure to sell and criticized in front of the live stream audience, Kane turned red with anger and began arguing with the villager. The audience, curious about this unusual type of live stream drama, placed a few orders out of amusement, and Kane ended up selling a few hundred orders. Gia Village was now infamous. After watching this spectacle, I went back to focus on my work. Dahi Village had a great geographical location, and I realized we could farm not only shrimp but also other aquatic products to diversify our offering. Village, on the other hand, had already lost far more than it earned. If Kane had continued live streaming properly, he might have made some money to recover. But he cut corners in the worst possible places. No need to worry. A few less ice packs won't hurt. It'll only take 2 or 3 days to deliver. No need to use so many ice packs. Save wherever you can. But when Bacchus was how do you listen to him or me? Don't use express delivery like SF Express. It's too expensive. Just send it through regular mail to save cost. Now he cared about cutting costs in his business. Yet back then he complained about me taking a small commission. Unfortunately, he cut corners where it mattered most. The result was predictable: the shrimp spoiled in transit, leading to countless refunds. Kane's live streaming reputation was completely ruined, with a 100% refund rate. Soon after, the store was shut down. When I heard the news, I just thought, serves him right. Someone who doesn't bother to learn and always looks for shortcuts will never find success. The villagers of Gia were innocent. They had no judgment of their own and were easily swayed by small immediate benefit, completely overlooking the contribution I had made to the village. This is human nature. I was walking home with Aunt Malvina, chatting as usual. Aunt Malvina didn't have much, with her husband and children working far away, leaving her alone at home to tend to her vegetables. Ever since I arrived, she'd been pulling me aside every day to chat and ask me to teach her things. At that moment, the village chief of Gia suddenly appeared. "Bacchus, I think we had some misunderstandings before. I was misled by my nephew. Kane. Things I said weren't my true intention," he said with a fawning smile. "I didn't want to get entangled with him any further. There was no misunderstanding. Kane knows how to farm shrimp and sell them. You should ask him for help." His face showed a bit of helplessness. "Kane has left. He went back to the city." Aunt Malvina interjected. "What? He can always come back. Can't he? Bacchus came all this way back to help you before. Why can't he? Or maybe he's just running away." With that completely ignoring the village chief. I looked at this playful, childlike Aunt Malvina and could only shake my head. I waved my hand and told the chief, I won't go back to help you. You know better than anyone how hard I work. Yet you turned around and called me an ingrate. I'm not one to be easily bullied or manipulated. At this point, the chief's expression changed, filled with resentment. It was as if his earlier humility had all been an act. You are an ingrate. Now you're helping another village and not your own. That's not being an ingrate. What if he had just asked for a raise back then? None of this would have happened. His attitude had done a complete 180. But no matter what he said, I didn't respond. You can treason with someone whose views are so skewed. Think you're up to no good. There's no point in arguing with fools. Better to go back and enjoy Aunt Malvina's cooking. A few more villagers from Jia came looking for me, but they were all chased away by the people of Dehi village. Perhaps they realized they never farmed shrimp again or earn a salary from it. To make ends meet, they had returned to vegetable farming. By the time September rolled around, Dehi village's crabs were ready for harvest. Shrimp production was steady, and the live street sales were going well. Every household now earned a stable income of around 5 yuan a month, and everyone was eager to work at the farm. AEL's Aunt Malvina was gnawing on a crab when she asked me, her words muffled. Bacchus, why are these crabs so tasty? I love eating email crabs. Tomorrow, I'll make you some crab roe noodles. I smiled and replied, you're going to cook for me again? Have you seen how much weight I've gained? My belly's round now. You should eat less yourself. And you've already had 3. At that moment, I received a phone call. Bacchus. There's someone sneaking around the crab pond. My heart sank. Quickly, get a few villagers to detain him. I'm on my way. Call the police. Make sure you call the police. Aunt Malvina hurriedly asked. Let's get the tricycle. We're going to the farm. When I arrived, the police were already there. The man was being held by the villagers in Calden Moo. I yanked off his hat and mask, and sure enough, it was Cain. After what happened last time, I had learned my lesson. I had reinforced the fences, hired security guards, and installed cameras. While the cameras could capture footage, they couldn't prevent incidents in real time. And even if someone was caught, the villagers could suffer significant losses. This time, it was Cedric on duty. He was munching on a crab when he noticed someone sneaking around. Without hesitation, he called the police and got others to detain the person. Thanks to Cedric, the crab pond was saved from disaster. When confronted, Cain tried to argue. I was just here to take a look. What crime did I commit to be arrested like this? But the police quickly noticed a bulging package in his pocket. When they pulled it out and questioned him, he began stammering. It was long before he was taken to the police station. Cain had already led the entire village into ruin, leaving Jia village with no way forward. Unable to stay there any longer, he became bitter when he saw my success in the neighboring village. Filled with resentment, he decided to poison the new batch of crabs we were farming. But no one in Jia village would listen to him anymore. So he snuck over by himself. Before he could carry out the poisoning, however, he was caught. The people of Dehi village were furious with him, refusing any attempts at reconciliation. Soon, the court made its ruling. Cain was convicted of attempted poisoning, though the sentence was severe since he didn't succeed. At the same time, Uncle Kendall discovered that Cain and the village chief had been the ones stirring up trouble with his son. Now, broke and without family, Kendall grabbed a knife and went to confront the village chief. He stabbed the chief, leaving him critically injured, and then ended up in jail himself. Joining his son, Ya village reverted to its former state. While Dehi village's aquaculture business thrived, every household now was saving. Some villagers were farming shrimp. Some were watching over the facility, and others were packing seafood. The village women even bought new clothes and started dressing up, saying they wanted to help me with live streaming. Those who had left the village gradually returned, and Dehi village's community grew stronger. I too settled down in Dehi village. Every day was peaceful and full-fledged experimenting with new types of aquatic farming or helping Aunt Malvina with cooking. Autumn festival arrived, And Dehi village held a grand feast. At the table, the village chief, a tear streaming down his face, patted me on the shoulder excitedly. Thanks to Bacchus for helping us rebuild the ponds and establish the farm. Every household here is living a good life. The crowd erupted in cheers. Let's all raise our glasses to celebrate Dehi village's prosperous future. I looked around at the simple, honest villagers, and I believed it to the village would only continue to thrive.